Today I will explain how to add hem cinch toggles to your down Parker jacket. I have the Berghaus Alt Vatana Parker with me here. You could also do this to a Canada Goose Arctic down Parker, one of their, maybe a Langford, a Chateau, or Kensington, as the three that come to mind. What the issue with these Parkers are, they're usually A-frame constructed, so it's usually narrow at the shoulders and it widens out as it comes down to the bottom. This Parker is 31.5 inches long, but normally these Parkers could get as long as 35, 36, 37 inches if you get an XL. And the longer the Parker is, usually the wider the bottom hem is, the width across. And it exposes a lot of your lower torso and leg area and your crotch area and your butt to cold air blowing up into the jacket. And what a hem cinch toggle at the bottom does is cinches the hemline against your legs, against your body to keep in the heat. So it helps in heat retention and keeps out a little bit of cold breezes or wind or whatever you have. So I'm going to come in closer to show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is the Berghaus Alt Vatana Parker. It's a really good down Parker. It's about 600 fill of duck down goose. And this is a waterproof shell as well. So you get a little extra protection there. You get the dual storm flaps here and in front of the central zipper. And the zipper in mostly all of these Parkers I've seen, from Canada Goose to Woolrich to this guy, is the zip tends to end before the hem of the Parker. So what you have here is a big sort of space between the end of the zip and where the hem is. And if you don't button these Parkers, the storm flaps, you're gonna get a cold gust of air blowing right in there as well. And because the hem is already wide, when you're wearing this, it's gonna blow right up in there if you're not careful to button it up closed. So you want to always keep these closed. But what I did was to add a little extra. It wasn't a problem for me. I've been wearing this Parker for a while now. I haven't had a problem, but I could see if it gets really cold and windy, I foresee it being a problem. So I'll show you guys from here what I did. So you can see the cinch toggles I had there. Those are the red bungee cords. With the cinches at the side. You could also add your cinches at the front here where I started my cinch. But when you cinch in the front, when you add a cinch toggle to the front of the jacket, and the Patagonia jackets used to do this, what would happen, it would get bunched up right in the front, like around under your belly button. You have a bunch of fabric just bunched up right there. It made you look like you had a pot belly or whatever. So I prefer the side cinches because it cinches the fabric away from your central midsection to the side, so where it doesn't really get in the way of anything. So that's why I elected to put the cinch toggles there instead of here. Now, normally what you want to do is cut a hole in the fabric here, and then push in your bungee cord through the fabric. And what the secret of these Parkers are is that there's usually a fold over fabric that the tailors do to sort of, I guess, protect the hem. So normally you'd have an empty tunnel of fabric down here below the down baffles with no down in it, no material inside these inside this fold over. It's just basically an empty tunnel that you could cut a hole and push your cinch bungee cinch toggle bungee cord in all the way around, and you know, and create your own cinch. It's really easy to do. The only thing I used to push my cinch toggle was a wire coat hanger from, you get these from dry cleaning when you dry clean a shirt or pants. So I unfolded one of these to straighten it out. And used this with a little bit of a tape over this and the cinch toggle. And I pushed it through to this section here where I pulled it up into the fabric. And before I continue, what I did was, instead of cutting a hole, I was really lucky with this Alt Vatana Parker in that I did not want to cut the fabric to begin with, because this is a waterproof material that the Berghaus is using on this coat. So I didn't want to damage any of the fabric. But I was lucky enough to figure out that the stitching, the hem stitching here, I could just remove some of the threads, not maybe 1-2 stitch in there, and push in my bungee cord right through the stitch, right in between the stitch, without making a hole or any damage to the jacket. Pushed it in. I put this cap on there to keep the bungee cord from, I guess, being pulled in when you cinch. And I pushed my bungee cord to this section, the middle section, the first seam and the jacket that you come to. If you want to do the side cinch, you'd want to do it at the seam of the jacket. It's more well, it's easier to do one, and it's more, I guess it's more in symmetry with the design of the coat. It's a little blurry. Let me make it a little better. And here I did the same thing. I didn't have to cut a hole. I just sort of created a space in a stitching to push my bungee toggle out, my bungee cord out. Through these these cinch toggles I actually got from another Berghaus jacket, an older Berghaus jacket. So I recycled these cinch toggles. There are Berghaus toggles, which is lucky enough to get that with the cinch toggle guard, and then pushed it through that back down into the toggle, and then I created another space between the stitching there, and then back in. And you see the seam comes down there, so there's a gap, a stitching gap here between the two I guess panels of this coat. The front panel and the rear panel. Stitched it in there. I made a hole in the stitching, pushed it in there, and kept going again. At this section, I just took the coat hanger off of the cinch, off of the bungee cord, and I used the coat hanger again to push it in from midway in there. So I used my coat hanger to push it in. Let me open up the coat a little bit so you guys can see. So right here, and I did the same thing. I brought the cinch, the bungee cord up and then back in, not making a hole in the fabric, but just making a hole in the stitch, and also reinforce the stitching so it's not going to come loose any more than it is, as you see there. And then I ended it right over here. Same thing, just a little hole in the stitching, no hole to the fabric, no damage at all to the fabric or the down baffle. So be careful when you're doing this. You definitely don't want to cut into this material because you'll have a storm of down feathers blowing out at you. But if you're doing any cutting, make sure that this hem is free of any feathers or fabric or any down, and go ahead and do it. But I came back up here and I reinforced that stitching so it doesn't get any loose, and I put these end guards on the bungee cord. I got these from another jacket as well. These are actually from Zipper Pulls I got there. So what happens now, you could cinch the jacket, and it cinches really nice, as you see there. And cinched up, it'll protect your midsection from any drafts. And it took me about maybe 30 minutes to do. I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to damage anything in the jacket, so I took my time with it. But normally, if you're good at tailoring or good at using your hands or the materials, it will probably take you like 10 minutes to do this. You could also take it to a tailoring shop and maybe have them reinforce any stitching or holes that you do in the fabric. The bungee cord material you could buy at a camping store, or you could recycle this from an older jacket if you have an older jacket that uses a hem cinch. But the bungee cords and the toggles, you could buy them at a camping store or even eBay. They sell a lot of these on eBay. They cost no more than $5 for the materials total. If you were to cut a hole in your jacket, you could also buy, I'll show you guys. It's my older Berghaus. This is I believe this is a Sella, Berghaus Sella Windstopper jacket. And I destroyed the hem on this jacket to sort of, I took a bunch of the cinch toggles from this jacket and actually replaced them with generic cinch toggles. But if you were to cut a hole in your fabric, you could buy an Eyelet. This is a steel Eyelet. You could buy an Eyelet hole puncher, which is a kit they sell on eBay or online for about $5 to $10. And you could punch a hole. It punches basically like a hole puncher. So it punches a hole in the fabric, and it looks like a stapler kind of. And you would staple these eyelets over the hole to prevent the hole from spreading or anything like that. So it's really convenient to buy one of those kits if you have. It's really easy to do. Kids use it for arts and crafts. But you could buy it if you want a professional looking hem cinch. You could use that as well. I'll have links below the like button for if you want to buy these things. But you could Google them on eBay or Google them online, and they'll come up on eBay or wherever sells them. But they're really easy to get and really cheap. So this is basically the professional version of what I did. So you can see the holes there. But I did not want to create a hole in the fabric as well. So I used the stitching below up there, so it seems to be holding on my jacket the work I did. So I really appreciate it. It's really easy to do, and it makes the jacket a whole lot warmer in terms of that heat retention that I'm going to get now. And if I'm standing around the cold outside and it's really windy, especially if it's windy, I could just cinch up those hem toggles to sort of narrow the hem at the bottom there. And that is pretty much it for my project, my DIY for doing the cinch hem on down Parker, Arctic down Parker. And that's it.